How do you turn the mediocre ordinary into the extraordinary yes? That is the question of this moment in time as we leave and begin, as we end and start. Today's podcast, Live into 5D. Hello and welcome to Live into 5D, Waking Up Our Nature. And today's guest is Kerani Marie, my beloved, dear, deep friend. Thank you so much from Sedona, Arizona. Welcome to our program today, Kerani.
Thank you. I appreciate being here. I'm looking forward to our discussion.
Yeah, certainly. People are wondering, well, what are we going to talk about?
I don't know. What do we think we're going to talk about?
Well, in preparing to have you as a guest and us checking in before we hit the record button, the juicy, amazing, imaginative dream that you had, what was it, a year and a half ago? Or
No, not even a year. Well, yeah, you're right. It was just a little over a year ago.
yeah, right. And what we're talking about is the underworld, underground world temple. No. Oh my God, I totally I'm your guest host in October.
I love it. It's all perfect. It's the Underworld Womb Temple.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I feel like I'm blushing because I'm definitely not editing this out, because when I approach the sacred and when I know I'm approaching the sacred, like this conversation and what you've created there, I get a little taken aback. So don't forgive me for being human.
No, I celebrate that for sure.
Yeah.
I really feel you when you speak that, Vicki, because it brought tears to my eyes. And the reason why is because there is the depth and richness of living from soul and that deep resonance with grace does affect us in our daily living in many ways. And part of it is the cognitive may not be as linear because we're not living in that linear space at the time.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And we're not wasting much time on the program because that is the richness of where I wanted to go in this conversation. Kerani, if you could describe to the listeners what it actually is that you've created in the material, practical world. Tell us about the temple.
I would be happy to. And I just want to begin with saying that it came through grace. It came through something that was not physically tangible and informed me. And from that place, creation came to be in the physical world. And what was so beautiful for me, Vicki, is that you got to participate in the inauguration and in the initial ceremony that we did to open that portal to the Underworld Womb Temple up for others to then participate in. So when the vision and grace came through, it was about having a place to go to in stillness and connection to the Great Mother, to the Primal Mother. And that's where the idea of creating a womb, an earthy place like a cave that we would enter into and be with those primal energies, a place to remember who we are at our core, at our pure spiritual nature. And that then when we can connect with that aspect of ourselves, that when we actually emerge from the womb through the birth canal, then we can stand in the wholeness of love. Because while we were there, we were willing to embrace the totality of ourselves in love, in kindness, in acceptance, and compassion. And we dropped the judgments of all our parts and all our different aspects of ourselves. So that's what came to me, and that's what I created. And like you said, excuse me, a little over a year ago was when the vision came. But the actual starting of building it was the first part of July. So we're right at that year mark. And
Wow.
we
Wow, wow, wow.
inaugurated it in October when you
Yeah.
came.
Yeah.
So
I love how you're speaking this and you're bringing grace into the conversation. And it's, for me, it's a visceral feeling because when you and I were there together and we kind of crossed that area where the opening is, afterwards, when you had your vision, you said, did you feel that there? I remember us talking, I think we were on the phone, and you were saying what had come to you.
mhm.
I'm like, oh yeah, oh yeah. So what we're talking about is Kerani's, the back of her home. She lives in Sedona, her front area, like just like the breast is like looking into the valley of the Sedona Valley. What do you locals call that there?
Where I sit, it's West Sedona, but we're looking at Thunder Mountain and Chimney Rock and all these different formations on this particular range of the Red Rocks.
Right. So those of you who have been to Sedona, you know what Connie's talking about. For those who of you have been wanting to go, what we're describing is like this visual expression of holographic portals, dimensions and colors, and something like you would want to kind of wink, like, are you seeing things? That kind of thing. And you are.
It's rather mystical and magical. And I remember the first day we drove up and the truck came with my belongings and we were standing out there and I was just like, am I in another dimension? Because I'm standing on this road and all I'm seeing around me are these beautiful red rocks and blue sky. And then the guys looked at me and they go, oh my God, where are we? Because it feels like you've entered a new space.
And that's the idea of a portal,
Mhm.
is creating an opening, sometimes, and we're talking in the physical, but we're also talking about creation as in our consciousness.
Right.
And
Ultimately, yes.
yeah. And so behind Karani's house and below it is where you created this opening.
Mhm.
And then inside the opening, Karani created a temple. And that is where she's been practicing these rituals of connecting with the divine feminine.
Mhm.
And you had brought up that I was at the consecration of it with amazing other women from all over. And thank you so much. I just, every now and then people, women that were there, Brenda and Liz and a few others, like pop into my psyche. Oh, Abba. And I'm like, oh my God. So describe to us like what actually happens there. What happens? What do you create as an offering in the temple?
Well, the womb experience is a journey. And many people have come and said, well, can I just see it? And I was, no, it's not about seeing it. It's a journey to enter into this portal. So the journey begins by connecting with yourself, stepping into a new sense of who you are in relationship to life, being on the earth with the Great Mother, doing ceremony, ritual along the way from the medicine wheel to the spiral, to creating mandalas, to sitting with the great grandmother spirit and setting your intention. There's activity and preparation. And then when we come up to the portal to enter the womb, there's cleansing and other things to do. But the idea is that when you enter, like I said earlier, about remembering who you are. And the offering of the womb temple is for taking us to another level especially when we're in a rite of passage, a transition in our life, moving from one thing to another, that we can go back and really connect to our source and remember by rebirthing ourselves, bringing ourselves back into life in a new way, because we're collecting parts of ourselves. And we can do that in the womb because we're willing to go to the underworld. And the underworld are those places that we deny, hide, protect, disown. But here in the underworld, they can all rise up as equals. They can all be embraced in love. And in that's how you can emerge in the wholeness of your love. Well, just imagine if you're emerging in wholeness, if you're rebirthing yourself, if you're remembering who you are, once you go back through the birth canal and come back into the world, you are new, and you bring with that potential that was hidden before or smothered before. And now you can bring to life more of who you want to be in this world.
Just like that.
Just like that. And so it is, right?
Right.
And it's true, Vicchi, because having a space for that intention, holding that intention, when people enter, something changes for them. And they are altered. And that is the gift that they receive, the grace that is bestowed upon them, just because they came with an open heart and clear intentions to receive and listen, not to figure anything out, but just to really listen and receive what's there for them.
The two things you were just speaking with, the tools of unconditionality and witnessing, and having them be tools for ourselves, not for somebody else. I think, we're very designed to be external, give and project and all that. But when we get to be unconditional and witnessing of ourselves, that's what I hear you talk about. And it's an invitation, it's an intentional invitation. Like you're coming here, you're coming to the womb temple as an intention. When you're talking about, exiting or leaving from the birth canal, what Kerani is talking about is there's ceremony, there's ritual inside the womb. And then as we exit is where we come through the threshold. And that's the birth canal we're talking about. I want to keep things simple and break these little pieces down for people because number one, we're going to have a retreat the end of October that we're going to be talking about shortly. But I want people to really get that this is a practical place that we do extraordinary, uncommon ritual in that changes our life. Part of what I've always witnessed with you, Kerani, is that you've been very intentional. And, you and I have I think we've known each other like 9 years, maybe now, 8, 9 years,
Well,
this lifetime. But um, that has been something that I have needed externally support from other sisters. And I just want to say to you and to the listeners that you've offered that to me, and it's been such a huge gift because I'm really good at doing that and being that for myself. But when you have someone else or a group or a small group of people like you have during your rituals, that field grows and becomes a network, an inner network of strength for ourselves. And that kind of connection that we then bring out into the world kind of starts emitting light or different types of uh, consciousness or actually, I'll just say it, love.
love is the key, always, always. Yes, you're absolutely right, Vicki, because like I just did a retreat this weekend, and the woman in there said, I feel so safe. And I feel something inside of me really knows what it is to care and love myself. And I hope that this will continue as when I leave here, when I take this into the world with me. And that is what happens. And I use a lot of the imagery around the rootedness of ourselves, but the mycelium and the roots of our earth with the mother, but like we're the living tree, right? The tree of life. We have deep roots into the mother. And then we have this beautiful tree of leaves and flowers and branches reaching out and touching so many people from that place. But when we lose connection to ourselves, when we lose that grounded relationalness to nature and to the great mother, it's harder to give that love and that kindness and compassion and creativity to life. So it's another opportunity to not only remember who you are, but to bring it forth, water it and bring it forth.
Well, my experience when I was with us back in October, right,
Mhm.
was definitely in connection with the divine feminine. But who else showed up for me? And I think you might remember was my divine masculine.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I hear you kind of talking about that energy of like, okay, so we've birthed this, but we also have to tend and care and put out. So there's an action piece that I think also has to marry the being piece.
Right. Right.
And you know,
And in remembering who you are, that is what's there, is that divine masculine and feminine in their wholeness within you. There isn't a separation. And the more we can do that, the more whole we'll feel in life, and the more wholeness of our love will be available.
yeah, when in my classes with Musea, we talk about the equal sign, dancing on the equal sign. And when I go there and we're talking about it now in our terms, but I'll always feel my mind and body, one being the male and one being the female. We're talking about energies and how that dance is, it's almost like keeping the harmony in motion. It's that divine relational
Mhm.
part of our mind body and
Mhm.
keeping those two predominant energies um, dancing and in harmony, but more balance, listening to each other.
Right, because there can't really be creation without both of them working.
Yeah.
either the yin and the yang, or expansion and contraction, masculine, feminine, whatever words we want to use. But it's two forces of energy in life that dance together. And if it's just one, it can become very hard and rigid, or it can become so placid that it can't do anything.
Yeah.
So it's always a dance between the two, but it's the consciousness of being present to both that you're talking about that is so potent, because you're in that energy in a way that you can make choices that
Mhm.
really can serve your life.
I love that. Well said. Thank you so much for bringing that completely in. When you were speaking about it, I really felt the sense of, for people, well, what is consciousness? When you're speaking about that to certain people, they go kind of like blank.
Mhm.
And I think that the more that we talk it into existence by using terms like that, we kind of get like that's the edge of creation. That's just reaching through space
Mhm.
and going, we're reaching through space, we're going beyond ourselves. But adding the intention adds that awareness that I believe is the creation of consciousness,
Right.
you
Well,
know?
I'd like to segue into something, Vicki, because as you're
Sure.
speaking, that to the listener, that as you can see, Vicki and I, we really speak the same language. We walk in the world of that consciousness and creativity. And that's why we chose to do a retreat together this fall, because we realize that we both enjoy and celebrate, and new life comes from us communicating together. And so we're going to be doing an Underworld Womb Temple retreat this fall, where everything that we've talked about is going to be deepened into, experienced completely within yourself, and also bring with it a creative aspect, because that's so important to bring what you have felt internally into something in a tangible way. So it's everything we've been discussing is actually going to be happening then. And we're also going to include, we've made it the dates that that incorporate the Day of the Dead ceremony. And in Sedona, it's a really prominent time at a beautiful place here that celebrates the Day of the Dead with music and flowers and dancing and creativity. So part of the retreat will include participating in that, as well as a womb journey, as well as creative art. And we're really looking forward to doing that together, because Vicki is going to be contributing so much of her wisdom and skills to this, and make it even more than it has been already. Um,
Yeah, I've been doing a painting jam here in Sonoma County, a painting jam and social, the last 3 or 4 months. And this last month, I want to kind of amp it up. And what came to me, oh, so sorry. What came to me was this idea that I had been cultivating for our retreat.
mm,
It's going to be like a triad. It's going to be about writing, movement, and paint.
mm,
And there'll be some music into it, but I really see how I work best is in those three elements. If I can massage those together for
mhm,
myself when I'm in a project, or if I'm actually working on something internally. If
mhm,
I do those three, something really powerful changes for myself.
mhm.
So I'm going to be working my little magic around writing, movement, and paint for our retreat, Kerani.
Sounds
I'm
lovely.
really
Yeah,
so looking forward to this.
Right. Well, you know, you're saying that it's like it's bringing together the body, mind, and spirit,
Ah,
right? The movement, the mind,
yes.
and then the spirit of creativity. So it's really lovely. Um,
Yeah,
so
thank you. Um, just on the little note, I remember when I was living in Philadelphia, I did these Sunday morning, it was called the Bonnie Method. And we were living in Philadelphia, and the Bonnie Method was from Novato, California. So I'm like, how come I never heard of this, you know? Uh, but I remember it was similar to that. That's kind of coming through for myself. I'm going to try it out on my Friday night group that's going to be joining me for
Oh,
the
wonderful.
PM.
Sounds great. That really sounds
Yeah,
great. Well, I wanted to mention to the listeners that the retreat that Vicki and I will be offering, it's going to be from October 31st till November. I'm looking at my notes here, November 3rd.
wow.
And we're limited it to 8 women. And the reason why is several things. We want to be able to give you the attention and support you need, but also by keeping it small and intimate, you can go deeper as well. And it keeps the energies really willing to open and participate more. Sometimes when it's too big of a group, we lose ourselves. So we like people to have that sense of community that they can feel safe in, participate in, and share themselves and open up to who they are. So it'd be lovely to have you join us. And I'm looking forward to doing it with you, Vicki.
I know, Karani. To me, it's like a dream come true to number one, know you, be friends with you, be colleagues with you, and then to curate this retreat for people. The other thing I want to remind people is in the below this video, the podcast, there'll be a video, a short 2 to 3 minute video that you'll see Karani's grounds, the womb temple. We won't be going inside, although I think there's 2 snapshots, still snapshots uh, of the inside of the womb. But for those who are interested in learning more about what we're doing, but specifically to where Karani is and the womb temple and the creative consciousness that has gone into this. There'll be Karani's contact info in the description box. Karani, what would you like to leave us today with? I mean, it's the 27th of June, 2024. Big changes are ex exposing themselves. What would
Right.
you like to say to the listener before we close for the podcast?
I would just like to invite everyone to listen to your heart and soul in your womb. And that's a new concept for some people, to actually listen to your womb. But when you put your heart and your soul and your womb together, the potency that comes from that and trusting what you listen to and hear, it will change your life forever. And there's no greater joy or freedom available to you than to be able to connect to those 3 parts of your being. So that's what I'd like everyone to experiment with. Yeah.
Mhm. Thank you. Thank you for speaking to that. What a beautiful ending. I
Yay.
thank you so much, Kalani, for today, and thank you for future. We'll have you back in the program in about 45 days, a month and a half, to just check in with you, talk about the retreat a little bit more. And to the listener, thank you so much for joining us. You've been listening to Live Into 5D, Waking Up Our Nature. My pleasure. Bye for now.